So how's it going, guys, and welcome to a pretty interesting video. So at the time of recording this, Dexerto just posted a link or article stating that Linux gaming has finally surpassed macOS. That's something I wouldn't expect to hear, but honestly it was inevitable ever since the release of the Steam Deck. And to be honest, I have nothing but high praise and respect for Valve for supporting Linux and their Proton layer on the deck for as long as they have. Their continuous updates and making more games compatible on the Steam Deck have really bolstered Linux as well as a whole for gaming, and I think that's absolutely amazing. And I say nothing but high regards to how Valve treats their market. I think it's absolutely fantastic at what they're doing, and even though my Steam Deck got RMA'd, I have nothing but high praise and recommendation for the Steam Deck. With that being said though, I do want to talk about the other half, which is the macOS camp. So with me, I've only recently become into the Mac ecosystem with my MacBook, and I never really thought about running my Mac as a gaming PC, but it is something that people are interested in. Like, there's a whole subreddit about it, and I think for the most part, it's the laughingstock of the gaming industry with how little developers support it, especially with how most of the Linux success and especially them overtaking Mac was mainly due to the Steam Deck. It got me kind of curious on like the other side, like what would happen if Apple did the same thing and made a gaming handheld. And I think this is a pretty interesting prospect, not because of what they could do, but more so how they would do it. So in this video, I just want to kind of just talk about this kind of tinfoil hat idea. So yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, why am I even bringing this up? Well, it's mainly because Apple kind of already has the hardware to do it. I mean, their Apple Silicon chips have been absolutely amazing, especially the M series CPUs that power like the iPad and their MacBooks. The M series chips are known to be not only powerful, but extremely power efficient. And I think it's pretty obvious that that translates extremely well, or that could translate extremely well into a portable PC handheld. Like, imagine like an iPad with like controllers on the side, right? An iPad mini with controllers on the side where you could play your PC games or whatever with amazing battery life, like 4 to 5 hours of battery life without it getting too hot under load. And that prospect is what kind of sold me a little bit on the idea of an Apple developed Steam Deck kind of deal. Plus, I mean, even though we don't really have that many Mac native games, I mean, with apps such as Crossover, Parallels, and their new dev tool porting kit, which are basically compatibility layers, running games when they work on these layers sometimes run absolutely flawlessly, even on the lowest like base MacBook Air with only like 8 gigs of RAM, which is a testament to how well these chips or how powerful these chips are. And with that, you get the excellent battery life of the M series chips, like maybe like 4 to 5 hours on even the most demanding games, which could be really cool if that happens. I think Apple already has the hardware to do so. They have the screen and all that stuff. They have the technologies to really make something revolutionary for this handheld PC market, because they have a niche that I don't think any x86 related handheld has done yet, which is power efficiency. I think for power efficiency, I think they could carve a really good niche in the gaming handheld space if they do so, with super power efficient chips running like older games for hours and hours. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But obviously that comes with some downsides, because for the most part, does Apple even care about gaming that much? So recently, especially with the previous WWDCs, they've been really pushing hard with Metal 3 and like asking developers like Kojima, Capcom, and other game developers to port their games natively onto the Mac. And don't get me wrong, the native ports on the Mac are pretty impressive. Seeing like Resident Evil 8 run at good frame rates and good graphics on a M1 MacBook Air, which is fanless, pretty interesting to see. And I think it's really impressive to show how powerful the chips are. But despite this, majority of developers are still not really giving a crap about the Mac. And I think mainly that has to do with the market share and how Apple is marketing their gaming. I mean, if I think about it, right, thinking about it more, Apple really only pushes the gaming space of Mac on their developers conference. I don't think I've ever seen them ever advertise outward that Mac gaming outside of their developer conferences. Obviously, that's a really bad, because if you're not going to advertise it, then no one's going to care about it and no one's going to buy your product specifically for that purpose. I think that's their biggest hurdle right now, is like they literally do not care enough to market it, which means that developers won't come over. I don't think they understand that even though they're touting it for developers aren't just gonna simply go over to the Mac to port their games if no one is even buying Macs to play games, if that makes any sense. There's also a couple of other issues, like for example, like their app store is kind of a wonky mess in terms of like finding games, and just the kind of like convolution between like Steam and the App Store, especially with how Apple dropped 32-bit support. You already are knocking out a good portion of 32-bit games unless they run their own compatibility layer, which I don't think Apple's really going to invest much into. I don't think they realize that they need to actually market their platform as also a game platform, and at the moment they're not really doing that, so I don't see a reason why developers would even care about it. So that's a big problem for them. And especially with like the bitter kind of like rivalry between Steam and Apple over the past couple of years, it's been kind of rough. And honestly, like that's going to be their biggest hurdle, is just getting Steam on board with their platform. So yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts and ideas on the idea of an Apple developed Steam Deck. I think it could be pretty interesting, but there are just so many things, especially like concerning with Apple marketing and how they're basically treating gaming as a whole, that it makes it feasibly impossible, because the gaming space is so big, right? The gaming space is not a small market. And I think Apple, if they play their cards right, could eat a huge chunk, because they already have hardware, but they just don't, I don't think they really understand how PC gaming works and how to really advertise it. This video has just been more of a talk, but I kind of want to discuss kind of like a shower thought kind of deal. And I think it's a pretty interesting idea to think about. So in the comments, I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think. Do you think Apple should make something similar like this, like an M series Steam Deck? And if so, what would you like on there? Do you think that it'll be successful? Or if you don't, what does Apple need to do to make it successful? I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.